What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. It is September 2nd, 1st, 2nd, I don't know, it's sometime in September, which means August has come and passed, so it is time for us to rank up all of the movies that we saw for the month of August. I did not get to everything I wanted to get to. August ended up being a pretty tight month for me in regards to moving into my new house and getting all this stuff ready, so I did not get as many chances to go out and see movies in theaters, to watch whatever is on streaming, so I did not get to everything that came out. But we did see all of the big movies, for the majority of the big movies. I believe maybe there might have been one or two that I missed, but for the most part, I got all the big stuff. So in today's adventure, we are going to dive in and we are going to rank up all the movies that we saw for the month of August. And we're going to start it with the worst movie that I have seen for the month of August. It is Netflix striking again with a lot of just heavy garbage, just absolute crap. And this movie that we're talking about is Day Shift, starring Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco. It's a shame because it's a solid cast. I love Jamie Foxx. I'm a solid Dave Franco fan. Snoop Dogg's always a classic whenever he's around. It's a problem that it's just the movie is so lackluster and bland. It's one of those movies that just feels so manufactured. Like, it doesn't feel like somebody really came up with a good idea and was like, I have a solid spin that I want to put on a vampire movie. It very much felt like a movie where like Netflix executives were probably just sitting around with like a Mad Libs board and they were like, what's a thing that we haven't used in a while, or something that like the people like that we could get out there. And somebody was like, I got one, vampires. All right, vampires, throw it up on the board. Who's a cool actor that we haven't used that we use here in Netflix for a while? Well, we used Jamie Foxx for Project Power. Like, that's a good idea. Let's see if we can get Jamie Foxx again. The movie was just so manufactured, it feels like, by a committee. It just feels like it was just took a bunch of buzzwords, threw them into a machine, and it just spit out Day Shift. It's full of forced humor, just unfunny jokes, cliched storylines. It's just a movie that really has no justification for existing as an actual property. Up next is the movie Me Time, Netflix striking again with another piece of manufactured entertainment. Netflix once again just got the committee into a room and they were like, we've got Kevin Hart, we've got Mark Wahlberg, what should we do with them? And they're like, I got it, we'll just throw some more buzzwords into a comedy machine and spit it out and that'll be what it is. It's another movie that's just full of cliched storylines with just unfunny humor. There is one or two parts that made me laugh out loud. So this one gets the edge above Day Shift simply for managing to get an actual chuckle out of me. But other than that, it's just a movie that's just like really forced and tired and just shows that the Netflix machine is really just throwing shit at a wall, hoping something sticks, and more often than not, it's just sliding down the wall, falling into the dirt, and just crash landing on impact. Next movie here on the list is George Miller's 3,000 Years of Longing. This was a solid movie. It was a movie that I was not expecting to be as enjoyable as it ended up being. I will say, though, that it definitely has some tonal and structural problems. I like the idea that the movie is just kind of like almost told in flashback, where it's just these two characters sitting around talking about, the cautionary tale of what comes with making a wish and making the most out of your life and something in that. I thought that was super interesting, but the first half definitely has a much better flow where she first opens up the bottle and meets the djinn and they start discussing the cautionary tale that comes with making wishes, and we learn about how the djinn became trapped in the bottle and the wishes that brought him to this moment, and we go in flashback into Istanbul and all this like old history stuff. I thought that had a lot of really fun energy to it and was super enjoyable. The second half of the movie, it ends up going back to London and it follows the djinn and Tilda Swinton's character in the present day, struggles to maintain that momentum of the first half and really starts to slow down and become a bit of a slog in that second half, which really knocked this movie down a few pegs for me. But other than that, it was a super enjoyable movie. Visually, it looked really cool at scenes. Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton really bring the heat as always. They are two phenomenal actors, and it's definitely a movie that's worth checking out. If it's in your theater, go see it in theaters. Give it, help it get a few bucks in in the bank, so maybe it's not as much of a box office bomb as it has been, but it's definitely a movie that's worth checking out. Tomorrow's $3 movie day, baby, so get yourself out and go check it out. Up next is the Hulu movie Prey, the latest in the Predator series. We see the Predator landing back in Comanche times, and the Predator ends up going up against a Comanche woman who is wanting to prove to her tribe that she can be a warrior. It's a very stripped down, simple movie, but sometimes simple is best. Sometimes if you just go back to the basics, you're able to like really hone in on what worked in the Predator series and bring a spotlight on that. And I think this movie highlighted that very well. There's a lot of like really interesting ideas in this movie. I thought some of the visual effects looked really cool. Going back to the basics, Predator looked really cool. The biggest gripes I had with this movie is that, one, they were speaking English. Like, why? And people told me afterwards that there was a Comanche cut that, like, you can go into the options and do, but, like, fuck that. I shouldn't have to go into the options to pick the Comanche cut. The movie should just be in Comanche. Like, why do they speak English? And then two, the French villains were like kind of like caricatures of themselves. They made it a little like silly and over the top with like how they just like painted them as just like these savages. It's pretty much doing the exact same thing that like we did in the 90s, painting the Native American characters as savages. Like now they just still did the same thing, but just switched it around so it's a different person. But it's just like, it's you're still doing the same plot from the 90s. So that was a little silly in my estimation. I also thought I liked that this woman got the shit kicked out of her for a large majority of this movie. Like, it's always endearing to me, or endearing to us for the main character, if you watch them literally go through hell and like they have to bleed if they want to get their goal and achieve their goal. Having said that, the ending fight scene is still a little one-sided. It's still like a little crazy, the shit that she pulls off in fighting him in that last fight scene. I could have used a little bit more of where her back was up against the wall and it was literally like she just barely scrapes by. The ending fight, they were doing a really good job with that leading up, and then I feel like right at the ending fight scene, like she suddenly got like these like crazy like badass like jumping off of tree powers that like she was just pulling shit out of her ass against this guy. And it made the Predator look like a total absolute moron that he fell for like the mud trick. But small minor gripes, like all that aside, it's still a very fun, thrilling, like quick return to form for the Predator franchise, and definitely something that you should check out if you are a fan of any of the other Predator movies. Coming up next is a movie that I didn't think would land here. I thought it would be all the way at the bottom, and it was a movie that I don't even know why I was really expecting to enjoy as much as I did, but I ended up fucking really enjoying it, and that is Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. I never watched the show that the movie is based off of. I hear good things, but I just don't have any time for shit like that. But when I saw that the movie was coming out, I was like, oh, I definitely want to check that out because I do like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it would be awesome if we could finally get a movie that, you know, was almost as good as the 1990 original. And this is probably the closest we're ever going to come. This actually might even, if I watch the two of them again, this might actually end up being my favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. It just hit on all forms, and I thought it was super visually interesting. The animation style in it is really fucking good. It's just is really dope, and I love. It's got a nice time travel story to it. It's very jokey and really like captures the spirit of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles without sacrificing like deep substance plot for like just like a quick like 80-minute like stupid joke-a-thon. Like there's actually moments of pathos in this, and like moments that actually are like pretty substantial, which was something I was not expecting out of this. The movie opens with them like fighting this intergalactic war, and the Turtles send Casey Jones back in time to save them, and the Turtles like sacrifice their life in the opening scene so that Casey can go back in time and try and stop this. Like it's heavy right off the bat, and it is just like way more than I ever expected to get out of this movie. Like when I saw that this was coming on Netflix, I was just like, oh, okay, like this might just be something stupid to watch, and it absolutely blew me away. It's one of those ones that it's one of those like deep, surprising cuts where you're just like, you're just expecting to watch nonsense, and then it ends up surprising you. And this is a movie that really surprised me. It's loads of fun. It's a great animated like family kids movie. Like it's a perfect addition to that like lexicon of great family movies. Taking third place is Idris Elba's second movie for the month of August, and it is Beast. It is a wild ride. This was a movie that I was super excited for from the second I saw the trailer. I love creature features, and I love movies that don't take themselves too seriously sometimes, and that's the perfect movie that you don't want to have itself take it too seriously. I want it to be schlocky. I want it to be silly. I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be fun. Like, that's all I want. Like, you just want a roller coaster ride. I don't need great fucking screenwriting. I don't need great performances. I just need just insanity. And that's what this movie gave us. It was just a fun, tense, like hour and 40-minute thrill ride, and that's all you want from a movie like that. Like, you can nitpick that movie till the fucking cows come home, but there's really no point, because that's not what this movie is aiming to do. This movie is just aiming to entertain you, and it knocks it right out of the park. I mean, for fuck's sakes, he punches a lion in the face. Like, what more do you need out of that movie? It was just insanely entertaining. It was a great movie to see in theaters with a group of other, like, just strangers in there, because you get everybody collectively recoiling and just reacting to everything that's going on. It's just a fun movie, and that was a perfect August late summer drop. So $3 movie day tomorrow. If you haven't seen Beast, get your ass to a theater and see Beast. Come on, you know you want to see Idris Elba punch a lion in the face. Like, what are you waiting for? Go. Number 2 is the movie Breaking with John Boyega. It's a story of him as a veteran who is suffering from some PTSD, and he's owed some money from the VA, and the VA is doing some swindling. That they have taken the money from him, so it's left him poor and destitute and unable to take care of his family. So he goes and robs a bank and takes some hostages to get some eyes on him so that he can tell his story to the world and open everyone's eyes to what's going on at the VA. It is easily the best performance I've seen John Boyega do in a movie so far. He acts the fucking shit out of that role. Like, he plays that character, and he just absolutely, like, encompasses him. He is so good in it. Absolutely phenomenal performance. The movie is very, like, middle of the line. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's just like an enjoyable thriller. And what elevated it all the way up to this position is just the fact that his performance was so goddamn good that it helped elevate the material around it, because I was just so enthralled by the movie simply based off how well he was performing in it. That movie is all him, baby. Like, there's a bunch of other actors in it that you've seen from a bunch of other things, but none of them really come close to matching, like, his level that he's putting out for it. This movie is all his movie, and he is freaking phenomenal in it. So you should absolutely go and check this out just to see that performance. This is another great movie. This is a movie that I didn't expect much from either, and it ended up really surpassing my expectations. It's a fun little crime thriller. It's a movie. It's very cliched. It's following all the beats that you would get out of a crime thriller, but what really helps elevate it is John Boyega's performance. So it's definitely one that's worth seeing in the big screen just to catch that performance. Number 1 is Brad Pitt's latest movie, Bullet Train. Balls to the walls, fun, schlocky action comedy. It is a movie that was just super fun. I think this is the first time that my most anticipated movie for the month of August that I did back the previous month actually ended up being my number 1 favorite movie. I think every other month that we've did it, my number 1 most anticipated movie ended up being in, like, the middle of the pack. So this is the first time we've gotten one that's actually landed at the top spot. It's mostly due to the fact that most of the stuff that comes out in August really isn't bringing the heat. I think Breaking was the closest that came to taking that spot from Bullet Train, and even then it wasn't really that close, because this movie was just loads of fun. This is the perfect August movie. You're just going to go, turn your brain off, enjoy, and just have a lot of fun. The dialogue is witty and memorable. All the characters in it are memorable. It is just fun. It's a perfect movie where you're just like, that's a movie to show to people where you don't need Academy Award-winning written material or anything. You just need a well-oiled machine, and they're gonna make a well-oiled movie for you. It's just fun, and that's what you look for when you want to go to the movies. You just want to escape for 2 hours and just be taken to a new world, new characters, watch some fun shit like happen, And this movie just brings all that for you. This is the perfect movie to describe like how great summer blockbusters can be, where you can just go into the theater, turn your brain off, enjoy a movie for 2 hours with people, and then come out feeling like you got your money's worth and talking about it for the next like couple hours with your friends. It's a fun movie. Obviously, this is another movie that you can nitpick in some areas, but like this is not really the movie for it. This is not a movie that's trying to like put out all this like Academy Award winning material for you. For me, the biggest things that I would nitpick would be the end of the movie. I think that it gets a little bit too zany at the end in regards to just like the crazy fight scenes that's going on while the bullet train smashes into another bullet train and then falls off the track and it goes fucking through a town, like, which clearly probably murdered like dozens of people, but like all of them are like flying through it and still survive. It just gets a little too zany for its own good right there for me. But the movie spent up so much time giving me that goodwill that I was a little bit more forgiving about that stuff at the end. So you could take those nitpicks and just kind of like put them off to the side and be like, even though all those things still bother me, I'm able to still sit and enjoy this movie. So Bullet Train is definitely another one that's worth your time. It's so close to 100 million domestically. People, just go out and see this movie and let's get it to 100 million. Let's at least just get it to 100 million domestically, because every time we get a 100 million domestic movie, that is good for our box office. Again, $3 movies tomorrow, all day tomorrow. Go and see Bullet Train. That'll do it for the month of August. It was a very slow month. I caught all the big ones, missed maybe like one or two, but they were mostly streaming movies that I don't really care about, because like 9 out of 10 streaming movies just really don't bring the heat anymore. So this was a solid month. Obviously, I'm glad that I got to get in towards the tail end and catch some movies that I thought I was going to end up missing out on. I didn't think I'd be able to find a theater that was playing Breaking, or same thing with 3,000 Years of Longing. So I'm glad I was able to find not only theaters, but my company theaters that were playing it, so I can go and see it. So we got to see a pretty decent amount. August ended up being like pretty solid. But now we've got September to look forward to. It's supposed to get, we're supposed to really get quiet now until like middle of October or more into the holidays. But there are some late sleeper picks for the month of September that I think are going to end up really surprising people. So stay here and look out for that next video where I rank up my most anticipated for the month of September. And we go in and we talk about all the movies that are coming and dropping for the month of September. But that is the next video. This is the ending to this video. Until the next time, you have been you. I have been me. These are the movies that we love. Tomorrow is $3 movie day. Every theater all over the country. Go out and see a movie. Do it. You'll have a good time. I promise you. And until the next adventure, adventure on.